police department.
That's not true at all. You
That's
need to
absolutely
read,
true.
honey.
So reparations are just and necessary.
Okay, good. Just and necessary. Okay, I actually am glad you repeated that because I thought you said they were just unnecessary.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, like I said, that I believe that people who are enslaved shouldn't get reparations from people who were never slave owners. And it's just like, how would that even work? And then what about the Black people that own slaves? Like, it's just so much to go into it. Instead of looking for a handout, which is what typically liberals and Democrats do, why don't we just work hard to, in the country that is one of the greatest countries in the world and people come here to die, why don't we just work our butts off to have more?
So reparations is not, we're not talking about just Black folks, because Japanese received reparations after World War II. So there are times where reparations are just. It just seems that in our country, when it applies to Black folks, we're the only ones that aren't going to get it. That's historically the case.
I think that that's an interesting thing to point out, that historically people have gotten reparations. Slavery was messy. And as was mentioned, there were white slave owners. There were Black people who owned slaves as well. There were white indentured servants from Ireland and Italy. There were people who came to this country as free Blacks from the very beginning. How would you do it? And this is a direct question that I would love for one of you to answer. How would we repair through reparations in a way that is fair and just?
And if I can just add, and also, what do you do with biracial people? With people of lineage of both sides? Okay.
First and foremost, we're not getting anything. I just want to make sure that we're clear. We're not.
But that's probably true.
For example, for my parents who grew up in the South in Jim Crow, I feel like reparations for that generation is something that is very trackable and very doable, because they were redlined, they were kept from owning homes, they were kept from being able to build generational wealth. And I think that is a good starting point for people 75 and older that are in the Black community, that you could easily give them what they were kept from back in the 50s and the 60s before the civil rights happened. So that's what my solution would be. Trying to track it back to slavery, yes, it should have happened because slave owners did get reparations, but the Black community that were enslaved did not. So if we're going to look at some way to try to give repair, I think starting with the people that suffered through the Jim Crow would probably be the best and most easiest and just way to do that.
Can I just say, I think that's fair.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So one thing that I thought was interesting that you said was the idea of generational wealth. With such a small percentage of the white population having owned slaves, I think one false idea is that it was all the white people that were enslaving all of the Black people, but really only, I mean, honestly,
it
it's less.
It wasn't, but they still benefited from it.
Why are you fighting so hard for a world where we don't try to right these wrongs at all? I'm so confused. Even you mentioning like, okay, well, we have...
I'd love to finish. So when it comes to the idea of this long strand of generational wealth that was left to white people, it's just logically false. There's plenty of white people that are not descendants of slave owners. So if we are doing reparations for slaves, you mentioned the Japanese, you might mention the Holocaust and people that have gotten reparations in the past. One stark difference between us getting reparations now and those reparations are those were reparations that were given directly to the people that got wronged and is going directly toward their generations after. I really want to ask how you think it would work out genealogically, how we would trace down who is a descendant of slaves, and also how it would work as far as payment, because Blacks have been paying taxes all of this time. Would it essentially be Blacks paying themselves back?
Well, it's
and
what
then
I said
also,
That's probably what I would do, to be honest.
I also want to ask as well, how exactly, and
good question.
I'll be honest, how exactly you see all Black people getting a $50,000 check after we determine who gets it, right? After we hire on all, we're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar operation.
I'm gonna be real with y'all, and y'all probably gonna hate what I say about this. If you give, and see, that's the thing, bro. Like, that is still confusing, because it's like some of these people don't have birth certificates. We already fighting it now, right? Because of voting, and that's the thing Democrats have been fighting, that a lot of people don't, that's their wording, that a lot of people don't have birth certificates and all this information, their social security cards. So how are you tracking them? How are you doing? A lot of black people don't file taxes either. Like a lot of black people, we gonna talk about that, bro. Like a lot of black people don't file taxes. Hey, shit. I hate to say this, but Twister, one of the goddamn, he just pled guilty to that, bro. Like it's so many people, and we see it all the time. Black people, that's not something that's really taught in our community as well and like enough about taxes. A lot of these streamers, if they don't understand the tax game and they think that they ain't supposed to pay taxes or give these motherfuckers their money, oh, they watching and they coming. They letting that shit build up. So that's another thing, bro. Like, I'm gonna say this. You give them niggas money, they gonna give it right back. They ain't not gonna go buy no land. They ain't finna go buy no stocks. Not majority of them. They gonna get that shit back. They gonna go buy a Bentley, a Lamborghini. They're gonna go buy things that don't fucking matter and give it right back to the white people. It don't even really make no motherfucking sense to do it. Like, we not benefiting from it, no matter how much like people think we are, because black people don't think with this. They think with social media minds and trying to goddamn impress motherfuckers and scamming motherfuckers and shit like that. Nah, bro, that I don't see that shit ever happening. And if it ever did, it wouldn't work. It'd be some bullshit.
And we're talking about reparations and how this would end up truly being executed, not in a utopian idea of all Black people get this money. But then you also have to think about what reparations are. Reparations, by definition, do not need to be money. Reparations can also be education,
Yeah, exactly.
And I think what's important is that when it comes down to it with reparations, we are giving 50,000, however much money you think reparations should be, to people that just by fact are not educated on financial independence.
So give them education.
Okay, education is perfectly fine with me, but I think when we a precursor to finances, we'd have to invest very dramatically.
I think the Jim Crow idea is perfect because, like, my husband and I, both of our grandfathers were in Korea, and when they came back from Korea, they had very starkly different experiences. One was able to get a job, one wasn't, right? One had GI benefits, one didn't. And so,
a Black man and
oh yeah, my husband's white. So, and at the end of the day, like, I think it's important to recognize that there's some generational wealth that could have been built that wasn't built. And think about the mental like toll of coming back from war and then going from one war to another, like Birmingham, Alabama, coming from Korea, and like imagine what life was like and you couldn't get a job because of like no GI benefits were given. Like, yes, legally, maybe they should have, but also Jim Crow was the law of the land back then. So how in the world are we supposed to not like, and I think that what you said is beautiful about using education, right? Because my family personally, like education was like our way out. Like that's why that like, and I think a lot of Black families, they, that's why we hold on to education so well. But then kind of going back to like right now.
This is how I would do reparations. I think that a way not to burden taxpayers would be to sort of do it like how Native Americans get free college, which is they have to submit their own lineage. You have to trace your own lineage yourself, submit it. And then I think there's a certain period, I don't know the amount of years that we should not pay taxes, just straight up. We have contributed so this country, ancestors did. We should that leg up. I went to the University of Alabama. I'm from Atlanta. I've seen so many white people benefit directly from slavery to this day. Like my best friend in college, her family lived on a plantation that was handed down to her from her family that was made off the back of Black people. And it's the biggest residence in Alabama. That is insane. That is sick. We deserve for our ancestors to be treated with the respect to just like be paid for their labor. That's it.
If I can just interject really quickly, because I actually did hold my hand up. Yes, I think that reparations should be given. There's two reasons I believe that. One, it was promised, right?
Yes.
Flat out, it was promised. Go ahead and do it. Two, I know that it would be the biggest bump to the United States economy that we've ever seen because Black people do not know how to manage their money. And that is
But
a fact.
Americans
So
don't
hold
either.
on. I'll finish what I'm saying. I'm not just saying, look, we're a bunch of Black women. So when I say Black people, I'm worried about Black people. I don't care what other Americans are doing. I'm talking about Black people in the space that's about Black people right now. Black people do not know how to manage our money. That's just a fact overall. It's an unfortunate fact. If you want to see the sales for Nike explode, you want to see the sales for, luxury cars explode, give people a bunch of money. It'll be like the Chappelle skit where the Black people got it. It's a fact. But what I want to make clear, or the way I think of it, is that if you're talking about programs and opportunities, we already have free colleges. Just because it's not specifically for Black people doesn't mean it's not available to the Black community. We already have public housing. We already have SNAP. We already have people getting free, we already have people getting free healthcare if you make low enough that you need it. My family is from South Carolina. My dad's family, my same situation as yours, but we own our home. It's a compound. It's not as big as Alabama, but it's really nice. 3 houses. My grandfather built it by hand. There is a space in people's minds right now that says, I'm a victim and I need help. There's some people that literally just believe I need help and therefore I must wait for the help to show up. And then there's other people that say, I need my life to be better, and they go out and get it and make it happen for themselves. And I think that when we keep begging for reparations, instead of just saying, like you said, it's never gonna happen, it's never gonna happen, so move on. There's every other opportunity in front of you. There's every avenue to better yourself and make a better way for your family down the line. Focus on that instead of begging the government to do something that they clearly don't want to do.
It's a moral issue at this point. It's not even like begging the government. It's just like reminding, dude, you owe us.
We asking, let me hold up, but she said moral. Man, hold the hell up. We asking a moral. Look at who our president is and look who our past presidents were. What president really had that much, other than I wasn't around when Kennedy was in office, so I don't know too much about him and how much. I've heard that he had a lot of, he stood on business and a lot of morals, but other than that, how many of these motherfuckers really got morals and values and principles that they stand on? If it ain't about, like, bro, the things that they get away with, Black people just ain't learning out the blue. They get a lot of this shit from these white movies, these Italian movies, all this shit, bro. Ain't none of this stuff, none of these, Donald Trump ain't got no morals. Clinton ain't got no morals. And to be honest with you, Barack ain't got none either, because he playing y'all. If Barack cared that much, I'll say this. If Barack cared that much about Black people, why when Goffy, I promise I hope you, the guy from Africa, Goffy, that Barack Obama, and I promise you, if I'm saying his name wrong, I do promise you, but he killed them for what? And that man was about to help Black people in America, but he also was trying to break away from the currency and create his own African currency and stuff. And Barack Obama had him killed. If he really wanted to help Black people, why wouldn't he work out a deal and make it? He don't have no power. He answered to somebody else. I don't think that's what we not understanding, bro. Like, it's some other people that are in control. Like, fuck the president. It's other motherfuckers that really are in control of this world.
Attack on Black crime is as a result of underinvestment and over-policing.
Yes and no.
Yeah. When we're talking about violent crime, this is largely done by men. And so I have a hard time blaming under-policing and underinvestment on what I fundamentally believe is a patriarchy issue, is a male violence issue, across the board, across races, across everything. Men commit violent crimes and they commit them to each other a lot of the time as well. So I can't agree with that. It's just these problems, because white on white crime exists and whatever all these other crimes exist. I don't think it's fair to hone in on this. I think that this exists so we can say that Black people are more aggressive. That's why there's this conversation. But it's a male issue. It's a male violence issue. It's a patriarchy issue. So, and I think that that's not what to blame.
I also think and I would love to know if you guys agree or disagree on this, but it's also a proximity issue, right? Like you said, white on white crime is a thing. We don't talk about that. You most likely will end up, unfortunately, involving yourself in crime with the people that you're around naturally. And Black communities were historically, you have to look at the history of it, they're pushed into those areas because of what? I'm actually asking because of what?
Redlining?
Right. And so,
Projects.
right, all of that. So when you're around those people all the time, that's who is going to you're going to end up committing crimes against those people. It's the same with white people. So I guess my question is, do you think that if those Black people were able to leave and kind of gentrify in a different way other communities, would they still be committing the same amount of crimes that you view that they're committing?
What you're suggesting is that the Black community is inherently violent, and
I'm not suggesting that. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting that.
Let me finish my actual thought.
Okay.
The Black community, when it's all together, is just going to inherently be violent, and the only way to remove the violence is to let us spread and intermix with other people. That's what I'm hearing from that
That's
statement.
not what I'm saying. I understand that's what you're hearing.
You
But
see
that's
what
not
I'm saying?
I do, but that's not what I'm saying.
Because what you're implying is that when Black people are gathered together, because of the proximity to other Black people, we commit crimes.
No, that's
And
not what I'm saying.
What I would ask,
I feel like
what
you
I would
understand
ask
what I'm saying.
is, why are we committing crimes?
But everybody
We
commits
don't
crimes. That's the
have
point
to
that I'm saying.
commit
I'm saying everybody
crimes.
commits crimes, and who you're in proximity with is who you will end up committing the crimes against.
I think from the science background of like generational trauma and like thinking about how men are not taught, going back to what you're saying, men are not taught how to regulate their emotions. And think about all the
Men
anger
are
and
unable
the
to be violent, which is a very different thing. Men don't have to regulate their emotions. Men
Well,
can be,
I'm just
men's
speaking
violence is
from,
always
my
protected.
experiences like in the mental health field of if we're not allowed to, well, anger is a secondary emotion. Underneath it is embarrassment, hurt, pain, like all of these vulnerable emotions, and men in our society are not taught how to process that. And if you take in generational trauma, all the trauma that Black men have had to go through chattel slavery. And like I said, my grandfather came back from war and he didn't get GI benefits and he has to support his family. Like, what do? It turns to anger. And the reason why there could be, and if you, again, kind of redlining, squishing all of these people and over policing, it's just, we're creating this self-fulfilling prophecy where no matter what, like there's going to be more violence in these areas because there's no, like, again, kind of going back to, we need the mental health programs, we need education programs to help uplift people so that that energy can go into art, it can go into school, it can go into all of these productive places so that we, and again, like if we like spread people out, you get exposed to different ways to, because I will say that, if you are not taught how to do things and you are kind of stuck in this learned helplessness of, which I don't know if anyone will take that the wrong way, but it's just a term of like.
Milton loves rocks, so he bought a .rocks domain name with Squarespace.
You feel like there's no, like, kind of like we feel like with the the two-party system of like, if you say like, there's no way that I'm going to get out of this, that is a mental health issue of saying like, hey, there's another way to express anger. There's another way to process this other than picking up a gun and shooting at each other.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of sounds like you're giving these people who commit crimes an excuse for because whatever trauma that they've been through. I can say I'm someone who's going through grief and trauma right now. My mom suddenly died 3 weeks ago, and I every single day, thank you, I go through every stage of grief multiple times a day. It is the most I can't cuss on here, but you know what I'm trying to say. And I still have to continue on going through my life. Our bills need to be paid. Me and my husband, I have to be there for him. I have to go through life. I don't get to just go, commit crime because I've been through trauma.
Do you have the support in place? Like, what does your support look like?
I have my husband, and we can discuss that. But even if I didn't, that's still not an excuse to go and commit crime to harm people.
And it's no other option. If you have no idea what to do.
I don't agree.
Like, I will say, just from working with people and knowing, like, if you add in the mental health aspect of like, we have echelon of needs. At the bottom is need for safety. What you guys are talking about is all the way up here. You can look it up, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's self-actualization of like knowing what to do. That's all the way up here. We're talking about feeding yourself and all that kind of stuff.
So why did they go from I have no idea what to do to I'm going to go murder someone, or I'm going to go steal someone, or I'm going to go steal a car?
So I think when you bring up generational trauma, I think people can experience trauma on a number of levels. I think it's an insult to the intellectual intelligence, the emotional intelligence of the Black community to say that you are going through X, Y, Z, so that must be the reason that you're killing people or robbing people, or and that's fair, but I think the Black community is smart enough to know what is right and what is wrong, and that killing people is not the answer. I don't think that murder is necessarily a result of only generational. I think fatherlessness is a big part of the generational trauma that exists in the Black
Who do we
community.
blame for that?
And Obama
For
spoke about that
fatherlessness?
as well. I know you
Welfare?
guys mentioned
No,
Obama.
I think we blame men who have kids and then abandon them.
Oh, well,
I think that's
Man,
who
this
we
is
blame.
like-
I think that's who we blame. I think that's who we
Hold on. Now, let's get this straight. And see, females like that, I can't stand because they think with their feelings. Scientifically, numbers, whatever you want to say, it is more father in this generation in their kids' life than there ever is before. What we don't speak about is, yes, there are a lot of fathers that walk out on their kids. Fun fact, we know that. But let's talk about this. How many, and I got a lot of brothers, and I wish they had, only person I know that'll speak on certain shit is CJ. He don't give a fuck. But I wish a lot of my brothers would come on here and start speaking on how they felt when they found out or they talked to their father about the situation that their mother kept them away from their father. And this ain't have nothing to do with the government system. This ain't have nothing this had to do with your feelings, because either the father didn't want you or the father moved on. Whatever the reason is, you got in your feelings and kept that child away. I got a video right now that I haven't decided if I'm gonna do it or not. A kid called his father, or apparently supposed to be, she don't know, it's supposed to be out of 4 people, but she called this father on Father's Day to wish him a happy Father's Day, and she literally got on that boy about being like, about why did you call him I'm your father. And there's more Black women like that today, like period. It is more Black women like that today. It's also a lot more fathers out here that have custody of their kids or are literally the guardian of their kids. A lot more. I'm one of them. So delusional ass little women like that pisses me the fuck off. Like, I already cut females off. I'm already going through enough shit with females right now, just off that delusional world that y'all live in, bro. That ain't facts. That's not facts, bro. I hate females doing that stupid ass shit.
Which is why it's really important.
Can I say something super fast? I want to point out that Black women were incentivized by the welfare state, by LBJ, to kick Black men out of their home so that they could get more assistance. So we have a track record benefiting from the government by not having a Black man in the house. You can have more money if you are a single parent home. What did people do? They said leave so that the father can be the government can be my father. So that is why we are in that situation, because we have a culture issue.
I think it goes further back.
It probably does go further back, but I think that that is a pin that we can put in history, where we were incentivized for not having a father at home, and now it became Black culture to not have a father at home. And we went from 85% two-parent households to about 25% two-parent households, and that is a huge reason. And one of the things that I keep hearing, can I just finish one thing, that I keep hearing from a particular side is that we have to blame external forces and look for external help for the problems in our community, because we cannot focus on changing our culture from the inside. And if we keep waiting for somebody else, daddy government, mental health programs, another program, another government grant, then we are never going to fix our internal culture around violence, around fatherlessness, around all of the things that have become common in the Black community that we need to change from the inside. We need to clean our own house.
I just have a quick question, specifically just honing in on the animosity. I don't want to say animosity, I shouldn't say that, but just you speaking about mental health programs. Why can that not be viewed as a compassionate on-ramp for people, rather than looking at it as a victimhood or trying to find somebody to help you?
I'm not against mental health programs. I think that a mental health program would only be valuable if mothers and fathers encourage their children to attend a mental health program. But it has become, first of all, taboo. So if we look at the culture of the Black community today and we said, bam, you have a mental health facility smack in the middle of the project, smack in the middle of where we were redlined and we've been wronged.
who would go?
If we put that mental health institution in the middle of a predominantly black neighborhood, what do you need? You need the transportation to get your kids there. You need the time off work to go there. You need to have the mental space to be able to commit whatever it is they're teaching you.
That's not always true. I mean, it is true, but it's not always true. You have different ways now where they can do it visually. Like I've had that for a while. Like with my kids done mental health for since they was. Like I just told somebody that. So I was telling my coach that the other episode. Y'all do check out my episode, Same Go Different Struggle episode with Coach Rod Lewis, episode 129. But I was telling him that the other day, like I've been having my kids in mental health since they was little, and I didn't always have the ability to get them there. So for a while, even during COVID, we was doing it virtual, and we just kept it virtual. Now that they're in middle school, they see their mental health counselor in school, and now she's also their mentor. She's more the family, like I said. So it's ways around this that it can be done. I can't speak for, and I don't know how that is in every state, but in Georgia, people just got to get out and get the resources, bro. Like the resources out there, it's stuff out here that can be done. People just don't. I don't know what the fuck they be going off of.
These are all things that you fundamentally need to feel like the things that I need to feel secure, my access to housing, to food, to healthcare, all of that needs to be satisfied. And so I think that that's my main issue, I guess, when we're talking about like mental health support, is that we're trying to give people something they're going to need for the top of that hierarchy, and we're not addressing the bottom of it.
We need all of it.
Yeah, it's
how do we address that?
Both?
Okay, so I think what everybody is missing here is obviously she brought up the fatherlessness, and it's a big problem within Black women, the culture that Black women believe in, and this is why they're 5 times more likely to raise criminals, to raise people who commit crimes. They kill the most of the Black community via abortion, and if you think about
it's Black women's fault?
Absolutely, Black women have to be held accountable too, whether you know that or not. If you think about the music that they listen to, if you think about the music that they allow,
the same music.
It's
all
Black
our
women
music has always been a direct mirror into what our culture is. So when it comes down to it as a culture, I think one problem that we have is we do look to the party system, which is why I'm an independent. We look to the party system for who's going to help us, who's going to save us, and it always ends up going back to culture. All of our issues end up going back to culture, because at the end of the day, we can say we need this and we want this, but we as a collective need to make a conscious choice to do things differently. The reality is, you go to a Black community, you go to a white community, there are big differences in what we're seeing. And we can say it's this, and that, but to say that Black on Black crime is not a problem is a problem.
Yeah.
Like
crime is a problem.
What conservatism does is it implores you. It implores you to take a step into, okay, we can look at this and this and this and that, but let's just trust our senses for 1 second. Like, really look at what is going on around us in our communities and really think, is it all of these people's fault? Or is there somebody behind that trigger that is making that conscious decision? Let's not, we can get into all of the things, but in reality, to say that Black on Black crime or this and that are somebody else's fault is an insult to the intelligence of the Black community. And to say that fatherlessness is not important. I'm a single mother myself.
But who's making those arguments?
Yeah, no one's saying that it's not.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's
we
not a
need to
problem.
empower people to be able to
But
you're
saying Black on Black, you're
depend on
saying
the
everything is somebody else
we
is
need
doing
to
it
empower
too
people
and
to be able to
causing
do it
us.
themselves.
I believe in the Black community enough to know that we have the ability to make things better for ourselves, and it starts with accountability and not pointing the finger.
Affirmative action and DEI help